Welcome to the Sydney Startup Show. Today on the show with us, we have Prabir. We have Prabir, who is the maker of iSecurity Cyber. Prabir, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Carl.
Prabir, I'm super excited about the startup that you have, particularly about this automated cyber security officer that uses AI. And I know you've been on this journey for a good 3 years now. And you post revenues. But I'd love to learn more about what is the automated cyber officer.
Look, big enterprises have a very large IT shop and they have a lot of cybersecurity presence. But small and medium businesses, they also do businesses all across the globe. What about them? And they have compliances to deal with. They have information technology, privacy, regulatory, legal, all these things they have to deal with. And they have nothing. And they cannot afford big products, which has large footprints, or they don't have big IT spendings. So we thought there is a niche which is appearing there. So Cyber Officer is actually primarily designed as an automated, all these cybersecurity jobs, they are automated for small and medium businesses so that they don't have to spend large money, and it can be used by a non-technical person. You don't need technology person to operate that.
So, earlier on you were telling me a little bit about your experience you had, some time ago before you got into cybersecurity, and you were inspired by one of the speakers that you came across about the importance of cybersecurity. Tell us a bit more about that journey and what really got you inspired to get into the cybersecurity space.
Well, I was actually attending sort of a get-together with Dr. Peter Cosgrove, who is the Governor General of Australia, in his Governor House, and there were a lot of people there. And there, I heard one gentleman. He was saying that one of the biggest KPIs is basically to build smart cities and solve food problems for Australia. And there, I still remember a slide which shows one of the biggest hindrances is cybersecurity, and there are not many trained people in cybersecurity. There are not many tools. Many people don't understand cybersecurity, and I thought if not many people are there, that's the place I want to be. And we just drilled deeper and deeper and deeper, and we found out what is a missing thing in the marketplace which we can solve. That's how I entered.
In a startup world, 3 years is a very long time. 3 years is a very long time. 3 years can seem like an eternity. And I'm super proud of you guys, where you guys have built a product and then been able to get it to market, and now you have enterprise clients. Let's start with the product development, because obviously, being a startup, building a product without revenues is really, really hard. You were telling me a couple of different things that you've done to bootstrap the product development. Tell us about your product development journey. Now you're worrying about sales and customers and various things, but take us back in time and talk about your product development journey and what's been like. And I know you founded that in 2018, and you said, it took about 14 months to get your MVP out. What's been that journey like?
Oh, the journey is super exciting and scary at the same time. The preparation started in 2016, actually, when I was working for a large telecom company here, Optus. And there I was managing quite a very large, significant team. And during that part of the time, all after we have automated, we were all ramping down, because we have to release those manpower. And that point of time, all I used to do is to come and think, okay, whom I have to let go. And that actually killed me. And I thought that I can do something better. I had this spark inside me, which was like bursting, that I can do so much to serve more people. And one of the way of serving people is to empower them and create job opportunities for them. So I started building a runway. So I bootstrapped myself in a way that I used to spend my entire life on 20% of my monthly income only. And I cut corners everywhere possible, and I saved 80% from 2016 during that time until 2018 June, when I decided I'll do that. So end of 2017, I hired 2 people, Okay, they started operating from my Melbourne home. So I have a home in Melbourne, and the back room is a very big room, and that's where I started. It's not exactly a garage, but it's a rumpus room. So from there, I put some machines, etc. Through one of my friend, he came, who is my CTO now, and we hired 2 developers, and that we started the journey. So it's all about failing forward. We really didn't know that we started with a different product, but then when I saw cybersecurity is booming, I totally changed the track. So I was off the track for 2-3 months, but I was back in track with cybersecurity product, and that idea. The best thing is this. I validated the idea. We found I dated a lot of people. I'll use the word dating because people understand the word dating. I dated many people. Okay, frequencies didn't match, and then I met a fabulous guy, Gokul, who is our co-founder in I Secure Cyber. So he brings the technology, the expertise, and he's a cybersecurity SME. I got him, and we seeded the dream together. And then what happened was I decided to give it a go. We interviewed 52 CISOs. Okay, it took us 6 months to get their ears. 52 CISOs. We validated that idea. 48 said, yes, this idea is good. 16 said that if you build the product, we'll buy it. 3 did. So that's how we started.
I mean, that is kind of like the perfect world scenario. It's all the tick in the boxes. So you're looking at 2018 coming out with an amazing idea, and whilst you're building the product, you're validating the idea as well. And today you had 3 customers right there at the back of that. I mean, that's amazing. How did you fund? I mean, you kind of talked a little bit about your savings in 2016 when you had the original idea to break out, built your runway. What's been that journey like of funding? Because a lot of founders I know that I speak to kind of go, funding is my number one issue. I may or may not have enough runway. Did you have enough runway? I know you said you saved for 1 year.
That runway was not enough, and I knew I'm quite disciplined in one way, because my mentor told me early, if you don't discipline yourself, somebody else will hire you and discipline yourself. So I was very disciplined, and I knew very early that this runway will not be enough, because we thought that 1 year product development, it went to 1.6 years. Okay, so what I did was, service was easy for me because I had a lot of experiences and a lot of connects in this Australian market. So from very early, I started, while the development of the product I Secure Cyber happening, parallelly I started the service arm. I started going and doing small projects for different big customers, enterprise customers. Started doing projects, started servicing them, and that revenue which was generated, I funded back to our team, and our team in the product space was growing. Okay, otherwise it's very difficult, because most of the people, I also started going with a PPT to many VCs. I have knocked in Australia. You are a VC yourself, you know that. And once you start actually generating revenue, people become very serious. Okay, so these guys actually have put their neck on the line, or the skin in the game. So I understood that very well. And I started from the day one of 2018, I started hunching in the services, put the profit back into the product, take the money out of service, put the profit back into, and the runway actually helped, because initial 6 months out of 3 teams, that's a lot of cost. So that's how I did it.
I mean, that's excellent. I mean, you mentioned kind of like the 14-month development, and obviously it takes always longer, and it's never finished.
No, it never finishes.
What's been like going back into the industry? Because you've worked in large brand names like Telstra and Optus and Fujitsu's, etc. These are big brand names, and it's and I've worked with a lot of these types of companies, and I can understand they're very comfortable. They're comfortable positions. I mean, they're hard work, right? But there is a bit of a safety net with these brands. But then going out on your own, and a small company that's just starting out, and particularly in the AI sector as well, where the product is probably a little bit more sophisticated than in average enterprise software. What's it like for you, not having that Fujitsu and Optus business card, going back into a bank, a highly regulated industry, for example, and breaking into that, and then saying, by the way, this is my company now, and please buy my product.
So very, very scary. But one thing is, I was very, as I said, my genre, I'm a very disciplined person, and I'm super persistent. My wife sometimes, tell me that you are very stubborn, in a good sense. So, you know how I got my first customer? I went and I exactly counted. I note down things. Okay, some people say, oh my God. I went and knocked his door for 42 times. And this is what he says: Prabir, you are super irritating fellow. If you don't follow up with me, I feel that, okay, is he dead? So he said, then I feel like texting you. But you have 42 times. He said, no, 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 not interested. And he said, don't you feel sad that I say no to you? He said, for me, no becomes not now. You'll say sometime yes. And, I used to consistently, persistently, I used to knock his door. And finally he said,
Who was
okay.
your first client, by the way?
It's a very big mutual, it's called Avant, but it's a mutual fund company which basically gives insurance to medical professionals. So he said, you are so super persistent. Because of your persistent, I believe what you do, because after 42, and I believed in what we do, what we are doing. That belief passed on to him, and he introduced me to the guy who gave us the first break. And I'm super grateful to the Lord that it has been that way.
So 42 times you got to know, or 42 minus 1, you got to know. What was a no? Why was there a no?
First of all, when you are also changing your pitch every time, right? And I think you have seen that enough. There are a lot of, I was possibly not pitching on the right thing. I was telling him only things which were very interesting to me. Then I learned that I should talk to him what he's interested about to solve his problem. I was trying to say that I'm solving this problem. That may not be his problem. So I changed my pitch every time. And after 42 times, you start liking. It's called Stockholm Syndrome. You start liking someone. Okay, fine, this guy. Okay, they like your persistence. And they believe, okay, if he's coming so many times, that means he believes in something. That belief is very important. People give up very early.
What do you recall are kind of the most important objections you got, and only when you were able to figure out 42 minus 1 time, where you got to know what were the most important objections that you were facing, and once you were able to overcome those objections, besides the Stockholm syndrome, that you're gonna go, okay, I got this.
The first thing, the most common objections the first time is, who else is using this? So it is not a validated product. So nobody uses it. We don't want to be the first one. That hurdle, I think every founder has gone through. And I think, in my humble opinion, the only way I break through is, if you believe in what you do, somebody will see it. You have to go and talk to enough people. As I said, we validated that idea with 52 CISOs. 48 said yes. But only 16 said, if you do something, we'll buy the product, and only 3. That 3 came out from 52 conversations for 6 to 7 months. Those conversations has happened, taking appointments. They said, oh, I'm busy, and all those things. You have to be constantly focused on your game. Focus means follow one course until successful. I have not lost track. I knew this will crack. And whatever I manifested in my heart, that came into being.
So you talked about that sales regiment, and most successful businesses often have that, and you do, clearly. A lot of founders I talk to usually have a dilemma that they would go, I'm gonna I'm going to wait until I have a product, and I'm going to get the product to a certain point before I'm going to be ready to go and talk to the industry, or to talk to my stakeholders. At what stage did you decide that you got to start that journey? I mean, did you start that right upon the idea stage, and then you built up that regimen, or did you kind of get to a point where you had enough, you had enough in the product? Because I've worked with very different types of individuals. I've worked with Larry Ellison on one hand, and we all know the story of Larry Ellison at Oracle, where he sold the product. He even contracted something that wasn't even built yet. Right? That's obviously an extreme end of that. And then the other extreme, the other end is where you have a product and you're demoing the product. What's been your journey like?
We started with the PPT when the product was not even there. We started with the PPT, but nobody believes the PPT. Then we thought that we have to at least show them something. That something is a small proof of concept. Because most of the time what happens is, because we are from technology background, we over-engineer stuff. We wait till the perfect time happens. Time is never perfect. So what we did was, we did a small POC, a small working prototype of the proof of concept that yes, this works, and it's all about scaling and putting more features and beautifying it. So we sold the POC first, and we built on top of it.
Yeah. So that's a story 3 years in the making. So how did you go from your development team, and you mentioned to me now you have over 40 staff.
41.
You have 41 staff now. That's a lot of headcount. I mean, how are you able to get to this point in 3 years where you've got a product that has demand? I mean, you've obviously moved up from your three customers to onwards, and that's awesome. You've got a lot of headcount relatively to a startup in 3 years. Tell us more about that, and how have you been able to build your business?
So as I said, so my product stream, I know it is like raising. I have raised 2 sons. So it is like raising your kid. So you invest in them, you send them to good school, and you help them to study and focus, and then slowly they come and they go into adulthood. Our product journey is not very different from that. So I knew that I have to constantly fund the project till a VC smiles on me, or I have to smile. So I became my own VC sort of. So I understood that my runway, which I created for 1.5, 2016 onwards till 2018 June, the runway I have created, that will not suffice the scaling up, because most of the founders fail in scaling up. Starting anybody can do. Scaling up is where the game becomes different. So from day one of 2018, when I started the shop, is I made sure that I have a service arm which constantly generates profits, and I feed into my product arm. So the runway has helped, and I had done little bit odd jobs also in the market to at least, so that I bootstrapped myself. I was so frugal. Is frugal the right word?
Yeah.
I was so frugal that I even not eating out, taking snacks in my pocket while going, not doing Uber, even walking or driving Uber, whatever I had to do, I had to make sure that every dollar counts. And the service slowly started. And I used to daytime, I used to constantly go and meet customer. No. After 10 no's, 1 yes. 10 no's, 1 yes. 10 no's, 1 yes. That's where my service arm also started growing, and I was feeding it into the product. I started hiring good developers. We are blessed with fantastic team. So I started hiring developers, automation engineers, this, that. Slowly it happened. And then I moved. I'm a very expert in on-site and offshore. That's what I have done for most of my life. I moved the sizable team back to offshore and started building it there.
I mean, it sounds to me like most of your time today is spent in sales and the business.
Oh, yes. I work on the business very much.
How much of your manpower today is development vis-a-vis operations, vis-a-vis sales and marketing?
So sales primarily is 3. So one is my co-founder, me, and the gentleman who handles our operations in India. So he was my ex-colleague also. So we three primary sales, and what we do is we go to influencers who knows a big chunk of the market. For example, government. We are actually having very good discussions with a big pharmaceutical company. So those influencers. So because of our long track record in this industry, we know people who can influence things. We went to the influencers. So three people do that. Then we have a CTO. He's a very techo guy. He leads the entire development team, the scrum masters, the developers, the cloud guy, the architects. Everybody rolls on to him. So he handles the thing. Then we have two product owners. One is a chief product owner and another is a product owner who reports to the CPO. So they basically bring in the new features, so when we talk to the customer, they say, oh, I wish this should have been there. I wish you could have done an integration with ServiceNow. I wish we could have done an integration with DocuSign, for example. So those things we take and we again validate. Now we have a team who validates our thing. Okay, do you think integration with DocuSign is good? Yeah, DocuSign or PandaDoc would be good. DocuSign, yes, many people use DocuSign. So we started engaging them, and those things, they start building the product. So the product is also growing at the same time because we have good people on the ground. So our technology, sales, they work together, but they are two discrete team and they have a very good overlap on the top. Every day we have a scrum meeting at 6 o'clock. The whole team comes and we share things. So we don't operate in silos like big companies. So that also helps.
At what point, and this is something I've seen with a lot of early stage and companies that are kind of moving into scale ups, at what stage did you feel like in your 2000, since 2018, where you and the leadership team stopped providing features and the teams and your customers have started to pretty much influence and take the product forward? A product has a life cycle in its own, if you will, right? Where initially when you found it, you're providing your inputs. And then at a certain point, it has its own life.
It came after almost a year. So right as I am speaking to you, right now, there is a meeting going on where our super co-founder is actually meeting a very senior CISO of a very big power utility in Australia. He's just now in meeting with him. You know what he will be discussing with him. So what do you think of this? And we have a very good demo suite. We get people who are influencers in banks, etc., or let's say power utility, and we showed the demo and we give them IDs to play with the product. And when they play with the product, they give us that user experience feedback. And that feedback, we bring it to our Trello card, and we have a very good project manager who does it, and she takes it forward into the sprint. So that happened after a year when the customer starts saying, maybe you should do this. Maybe you should do this. And all my customers are my friends.
And at this point, I think you have a fairly strong presence in the market. What's next for you guys as a business? You did mention that scaling up is hard work.
Right.
There are many elements to that. And going beyond your friends or circle of friends, that's a slightly different ballgame now.
Yes. Setting up, the first focus is to setting up the distributors, channel partners. We are signing an MOU yesterday. We signed an MOU with a Australian partner who basically take it. So we are Uberizing the entire model. Okay. So they keep 75% of the revenue. The other bit is we have started forging, we have done the initial teaming agreement with somebody from North Africa and Tunisia who will handle the France and the African market. We are not going into US and UK market. The competition is still, we are not there as yet. But in the UK, in the North African market, like Kenya, etc., there are a lot of, they have less funds, so where we can get an entry. So it's like a stepping stone. In 2022, hopefully the market will open up. We'll register a company in Delaware and we'll move into US market slowly. So that's what our prime goal for the next 24 months.
So I think the US market in general is a relatively different beast in itself. I mean, Australian market, sounds like you've actually literally stalked the customer, met the customer, met them face to face, built relationships. As you're thinking about the US, the customer behaviors are different. Relatively mature market, but relatively more advanced as well. Um, and the approach to a product is very different generally. What are your thoughts in how do you plan and prepare yourself for the US markets?
Channel partners. That actually brings the game in a very different dimension because they are selling different things. So let's say there are channel partners who are experts in selling cybersecurity solutions to their customers. So there's no point in trying to do a sales cycle right from zero and do that. It's very cost intensive. So our plan is to go to those channel partners, open up their door, because when they try a new one, they make more margins. So my thing is just like how you sit in the chair and you rise up, you push the pressure here. So I want the profits to go to the channel partners more. We are happy with small profits, but that opens up our door. So channel partner is definitely a way we are banking on.
I mean, you've worked very extensively across Asia. You mentioned you've worked across India, Singapore, Australia, managed very large teams. And I recall in number 542 was your last headcount. Tell us more about what's been your experience in managing people, both growing and letting go, and what has that experience taught you, and how is that experience going to help you, now grow and scale up your current business?
So the best thing what I've learned in managing large teams is you have to empower people. Everybody has a creativity, and people don't nowadays like to work for a boss. They like to work for a cause. So once you get the cause right, the effect is very awesome. So in managing large people, they should know what they are working for. Like a bricklayer, if they are just laying the bricks, or if a bricklayer is thinking that I am building the biggest cathedral of the world, these are two different psychology. So I have always learned that if you empower people, and if they don't care how much you know, they only know how much you care. So if you bring that care thing into people whom you manage, they become giants, and they let you stand on their shoulder and see the world. And that's what I have done very effectively in my life. I am known in the marketplace as a person who empowers people. And if you serve them very well, they will serve you in turn. And that has helped me a lot.
In terms of the geographical differences, between all the different geographies you've got teams in, from Southeast Asia, Australia, and India, and places, what do you see are some of the common differences? But at the same time, what are some of the common traits and personalities that you think allows you to effectively manage resources, in Australia and also outside?
So, for example, people are people. Okay. So, for example, we constantly in our team we tell them why we are doing what we are doing. It's very important. I have seen when I was working for biggies, most of the people, they thought, oh, it's my job to spend here for 8 hours and do this and then get off. They don't know why you are doing what you are doing. So it's very important as a founder to basically tell the team what is the problems you are solving in the marketplace. Our developer should know. Most of the time I have seen when I was working for a big company, a developer doesn't know what they're doing. And the culture difference is, specifically people from India, they don't have a working hours, so they come anytime and they go anytime. So, I generally tell them my team works very hard, and I'm very proud of them. I tell them that you should take some time off. That's very important for me. So we actually track their time, how much time they are actually spending on the time. It's not about working for 12 to 24 hours. Sometimes we have done that. This when they feel that somebody is looking at your interest, they feel very much that they feel that you care for them. And when you care for them, whether it's in Australia or India or Bangladesh, we have teams, and where it's in Singapore, doesn't matter. People will give you their output to their best. That's what I have noted.
I mean, you yourself have, gone through massive transformations as well. I mean, entrepreneurship, you were telling me earlier on, is something that kind of came to you, not necessarily at the beginning of your career, but sort of at midway point where you had a pivot. How did you end up, transitioning yourself from thinking about entrepreneurship and thinking about running your own business, even though I know you've just done that for 3 years now and going forward, but I know you had an inert interest in transformation and going towards becoming an entrepreneur. Tell us about that journey.
So it was in 2008 in November. I clearly recall when I had a health issue. And that point of time, from my office, all I got was two thank you cards, one flower bouquet, and one visit to the place where I was put up in the hospital. I was thinking, what after this? So I was always thinking that if somebody cuts my family picture, me away from my family picture, where they would go? What would they? Is this all I am supposed to do? Working for 9 to 9, 9 to 9, 9 to 9, 9 to 9, and Friday. Thanks God it's Friday. Ooh, Saturday you do groceries and things. Sunday from 4 p.m. onwards, you have a perpetual depression that Monday is coming. And I started detesting my life. I was comfortable until then, but then that comfort started hitting me very hard. I tried to go into personal development. I have done a lot of things. I had this burning desire inside me that I have to break free. And eventually that desire was not so strong until 2016 to 2017. All I was doing after we have done a good stint of automation, we are just trying to reduce manpower and we are letting people go. And these are the people who helped us to bring that big success to the customer we are working for. That actually pained my heart. And I said, no, I will create an opportunity where I give employment to people, not take their jobs away. And that strong drive, I can say almost a spiritual drive, helped me to become who I am today.
So you mentioned, that whole personal health situation up in 2008 to 2018, roughly in gross numbers. We're talking about 10 years. 10 years is a reasonably long time to, prepare yourself to become a founder. What's that journey like, and what are some of the most important things you've learned in that journey?
I always remember a very good question, Callum. I always remember the example of a Chinese bamboo tree. A Chinese bamboo tree, if you put a seed, if you keep on watering it, it will water for 5 years before you see any sprouting happens. For me, I think I am like a Chinese bamboo tree. It took me 10 years to sprout up. But in all these years, I was creating the mindset which would help. Then I think I had overplanned a little bit because possibly I'm not risk averse, but I wanted to solve this problem of how to fund my dream. I knew what I want to do and what is the problem I'm going to solve. First, you have to find the problem, and to solve it, you need funding. So, as I said, it's called serendipity, and when your desire is very acute, the universe actually brings you to certain places. Like I'm meeting you today, I would have never met you if I would not have become an entrepreneur. Possibly you would not even have met me, or I would not have met you. So this happened because once I saw that cybersecurity in that slide pack, and the second is that inner desire to solve a problem in the marketplace by empowering and provide employment to people and bringing people together. That zeal, it took that mindset took 10 years because I was trying that, okay, I can continue with my job. I was in a hedging state. Shall I go back to my job or shall I do something? But the desire was so acute that I could not see myself working for a boss anymore.
So I know that a lot of the work you do is founded on AI, and in that 10-year journey, in thinking about entrepreneurship and building your personal development as well, how much of that was related with thinking about AI and making sure you understood enough about AI to really start looking at the transformation that was necessary?
2012, 2013, when that surge of entrepreneurship again came back, because people tend to get comfortable in their job, and then again 2013 I left everything in Melbourne and joined in Sydney this Optus. At that point of time, I think one of the good habits is I follow Gartner, Forrester, and they give the technology trends. So I remember studying a report of Forrester's where it is showing how AI and cloud will take over the world, and in a very short term. And that intrigues me, because I remember reading a little bit about cybersecurity, but cloud and AI is the next big thing. And Gartner and Forrester's are both yapping. I like Forrester's more. They were yapping about AI. So, and AI, and I started following Boston Technologies. I started following all the top, I follow a lot of things which I'm destined to. I follow them, and I read always what are the trends there. So that intrigued me. And AI is a fantastic thing, because slowly this automation is possible only with AI and deep learning. You cannot do that. For example, otherwise you have to constantly latch your product journey, and you have to constantly innovate. But if you bring AI into that journey, there are a lot of automation which can happen by reading the user's behavior. That leaves your development cost lower. Your development cost initially will be higher, but your changes will be lower. Your versions will be more stable. And I still remember I read that Forrester's report, which told me why AI. And that hooked me onto it.
And how do you feel about, in some ways, AI taking jobs? I mean, in some cases, AIs are replacing, like in your case, you talked about your AI-driven or AI-based automated cyber officer. But equally so, it is kind of also creating jobs. I mean, you're an employer, you have 41 staff today, and you're hiring people and you're growing. How do you think about AI and job creation vis-a-vis job losses?
I think I used to think like job losses, but I think jobs have not been lost, jobs have been transformed. So for example, a simple test analyst, manual testers, they used to be very trendy, or scrum masters, they were trendy just 2 years back. Nowadays, if I advertise for a test analyst role, I get 75 resumes in 12 hours. But if I put a cybersecurity profile there, or a Python hardcore developer, I will beg in the market to get a profile. So that means jobs are still there. The skill sets have changed. And people who are job seekers in the market, they're not losing jobs. They have to unlearn and learn a new thing. I think jobs have transformed. Jobs have really not lost. You are right. 100%. Jobs have not lost. Jobs have been transformed.
What are the types of jobs that you're hiring? Because I wouldn't be surprised. We have quite a number of young folks that may be listening in and tuning in, and they're thinking, "Oh my God, this guy hires a fair bit, and he's growing, and there may be some opportunities come and work for you." What are the types of things that you're hiring for?
Okay, tech BAs. We had tech BAs, Python developer. We had been, how many, just for Python developer, we have interviewed 9 people and we could not select one.
Why is that?
They know Python of university. They really don't know Python. Okay. Now, also some network security related guy, penetration testing guys, cybersecurity architects, lot of BAs. Okay, we hire a lot of BAs both for services and product. Tech BAs, people who understand financial, anti-money laundering, specialty BAs, etc. These people who bring new features or understand a customer requirement and can communicate easily with the solution architects. You can go to Transformation Plus page on LinkedIn. It's one word, Transformation Plus, and you can see how many jobs comes up every day. I also have a job group called Australia IT Job Group. There are over 300 odd people there, where other recruiters comes and puts jobs there. I have done it as a community, serving the community. If you guys are listening to it, you can ping someone if you're seeing the post, and I can post the Telegram job link where you can put, and you'll see every day different jobs are coming up. There's so many jobs in the market. Australia is not in recession. I'm confident. There's so many jobs, and we struggle with hiring people.
So, and I mean, you hear very different stories, right? From one hand, particularly the graduates at the moment that are, being challenged in more ways than before, perhaps, in trying to get a job. And so, what are the kinds of things that you're looking for that you think is missing in the marketplace?
Oh, very, very simple. I'll give a recent example. One graduate is coming, and I get many calls every day. I'm looking for a job. Okay. Nobody is interested. That person is a UI UX designer. Same, another UI UX designer, this is what they have done. Hey, we have looked at your web page, and this particular page, we thought it needs a change. I have done a Scratchpad model. Here it is. And if you liked my work, can I get a paid internship or a job? Whom as a founder would you select? Just asking for job in today's marketplace would not help, because there are too many people asking for jobs. The person who got selected is the second person, because they brought something on the table through their limited expertise, and they saw the opportunity of change, which is helping your company to move forward. You will definitely give them a job, isn't it?
Absolutely. So just moving into the last segment, I mean, the key question is, what is your organizational culture? I mean, it's very obvious you're very people-centered, but how do you define your leadership style and your organizational culture?
We empower people to fail. No, it's something. I know it's debatable. Sometime back, I was hearing an interview by Sarah Blakely, the owner of Spanx. So she basically says her father used to ask her. She's a billionaire. Her father used to ask, "Okay, this week what you have failed on." So we never question our people why they have failed. We do a root cause analysis. We empower them in such a way that they are not afraid of failure. And when people are not afraid of failure, they can do their best. That is the culture of very much openness, open communication, and people can say whatever they like and whatever they want to do.
So I'm going to move on now to our executive producer, Ashwin, and let's see what questions we have from the audience, Ashwin.
Yeah, and one of the questions is, what do you reckon as the future of Australia in the cybersecurity industry?
Oh, cybersecurity is the most booming field. As a matter of fact, government is actually looking for people to come from overseas, especially nursing, medical, and cybersecurity is one of the thing. Cybersecurity is the most booming thing you can do apart from data science and AI, because cybersecurity does not have a lot of people who have that expertise. Ethical hacking is not the only thing. Many youngsters, it's very trendy to say ethical hacker. There are a lot of other things like CISSP, CCNA, CISA. There are so many things you can do. Cybersecurity, if you take up that profession, getting a job would be pretty easy.
And you're right at the center of the confluence of cybersecurity and AI.
Yes. See, do you see a lot of driverless car? Tesla is not yet fully operational, unlike Norway. Do you see a lot of fridges which are connected using IoT into internet? Not yet. So imagine those use cases are sprouting up, and the biggest use case are smart cities, which government is trying to ease the pressure on Sydney, Melbourne. So as they're pushing the population border, etc., cybersecurity use cases will soar up through the sky. That's why cybersecurity is very important.
And could you share with us one of the obstacles that you faced, and how can today's viewers who have tuned in with us, they should be aware that these obstacles, when they come up to the industry that you're in, how can they face these challenges?
See, technology is something which is so evergreen and changes very fast. the most of the time, the biggest obstacle I have seen, I talk to many founders, I mentor also a lot of people. I've seen that they work on an unvalidated idea. That validation of the idea is one of the most important thing. And Lean Startup is a book I think many founders have read. Eric Niles, he also talks very much about validating an idea. The second thing is funding. Funding is an art, and I think we have a person. I am actually tongue tied speaking in front of you. Funding, you fund companies like Popcorns, but funding is an art. Not every time a VC would listen to you, but you have to bring your idea into fruition so that they see that, yes, this idea is generating revenue now. Then they will start funding it to scale it up. So funding is not a problem. Persistence may be a problem. Giving up too early is a problem. Funding is never a problem.
So with that, I mean, that's all the time we have for the show today. Thank you so much, Prabir, for joining us on this show. And thank you for those amazing insights. All the very best for your startup.
Thank you very
Prabir.
much.